Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Brent Bielski, a.k.a. Double B, a.k.a. the 110 Soldier. So many things to try to cram in your cram hole again. It's about Ram time. I want to talk about the L.A. Rams. Deion Sanders might finally go to the Dallas Cowboys, something I've been screaming about for a while. Warriors and Andrew Wiggins, it's time to move on. It's Victor Wembanyama's world. We're just living in it. Let's not be so cavalier about the best team in the NBA. And how is the shadow, Juju and Paige? Got to throw in one Caitlin and Angel story, of course, at the end here. But I don't want to do this, but I mean, I live in Los Angeles, for Christ's sake, so I guess I have to go ahead and get into this a little bit. Being part and seeing everything that happened with the LA wildfires. Now, I'm not going to get into really the milieu of who did what and why and whose fault and all that. I mean, unfortunately, my knowledge of forest fires stops with Smokey the Bear, so I'm not going to give you my opinion on that. There's plenty of places for it. But what I will say is there are some things that did relate to sports and did relate to life a little bit, so I want to talk about that more in general. But I mean, the first thing you got to say, being here, now thank God I was fortunate enough to be in a bubble along with my man Corey. We were kind of protected in that way from some of this and just really fortunate from the devastation, because there's no other way to put it. It was devastating. I mean, it's nuts. It has to be one of the most devastating, terrifying events in all of human history. It's one of the biggest fires in the United States history, actually is of all time. If you can hit the video here, for people that need a quick synopsis, they have now been up to 9 different fires. I mean, it started with the Palisades one, of course, January 7th. It's crazy to think we're a week later and it's still going. But, I mean, started as a brush fire. Now it's up to over 24,000 acres, about 20% contained. Hopefully, by now, they damaged like 5,300 structures just in that fire. Then there was the Eaton fire. That was 14,117 acres. That's only 35% contained so far. 7,800 structures were damaged or destroyed in that fire so far. Then we have the Hearst fire. Then we have the Auto fire. Then we have the Lydia, the Archer, the Woodley, the Sunset, the Kenneth. I mean, we're up to like over 40,000, and if you look at these photos, I mean, dude, it all just went up. LA just burned. It was so sad and crazy and how quick it happened. We know at least 24 people now have passed, unfortunately, and I'm sure that body count's going to get higher. Medical examiners said it's going to take weeks to even identify the ones that they found so far, because obviously they're not, easy to identify. The losses are almost unfathomable to anybody trying to picture it. I mean, they said insurance losses will be somewhere above $20 billion. Total economic loss could reach $50 billion. That's way past the $12.5 billion from the 2018 Camp Fire that was the record setter previously. And it's not over. Like tomorrow, as of this recording, they're saying tomorrow there's going to be more drought-like conditions, more powerful winds that caused all these first ones, not topping 70 miles per hour, but still is going to be extremely windy. Again, a lot of these are 15% contained, 30% contained. It is still going, and it started January 7th. And, I mean, this is just, now officials are urging people to consider, like, hey, when we give the warning, not just, the mandatory, you got to get your ass out of Dodge, go ahead and follow our instructions. Because if you look at this, it's unbelievable. I mean, there's so many. We don't even know yet how many people that, had a home are homeless. And I mean, the athletes, I'll try to keep it in sports, as there's over 12,000 homes, businesses, schools already burned down. Some of the athletes that have been involved in this include head coach Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors, who sometimes I disagree with, but I don't want to see his family house burned down. Cal football player Cam Jones. There was a couple soccer players, Carlos Vela, Ali Riley. The Kings broadcaster, Patrick O'Neal, his family home just gone, poof. Olympic swimmer Gary Hall lost not just his house, but his 10 gold medals. And, I mean, everybody lost all sorts. It wasn't just the homes. It was everything that was in it. They didn't even have time to really pack or do anything. And I actually have the audio from J.J. Redick, if you want to hear this, coach of the L.A. Lakers, who just moved here. And, I mean, just in time to have all his stuff burned down, talked about it. Go ahead and hit it with J.J.
I was not prepared. I was not prepared for what I saw. It is, it's complete devastation and destruction. I, had to go kind of a different way to the house, but I went through most of the village and it's all gone. And I don't think you can ever prepare yourself for something like that. Our home is gone, and look, we were renting for the year. to try to figure out where we wanted to be long term, and everything we owned that was of any importance to us, almost 20 years together as a couple and 10 years of parenting, was in that house. And there's certain things that you can't replace, that will never be replaced. And it's like weird. It's really weird shit. My son did an art project last year at St. Anne's in Brooklyn, and it was like a charcoal pencil painting of a lighthouse that we had framed above the stairs. And you can't ever replace stuff like that. It's like we move out here, and the Palisades community has really just been so good to us, and I think that's the part for us that we're really struggling with, is just the loss of community. And I've recognized that people make up community, and we're going to rebuild, and we want to help lead on that. But all the churches, the schools, the library, like, it's all gone.
I mean, and JJ even says, hey, look, I was renting, and, I'm going to be okay. But even you can see with his emotion there, I mean, even he's going through it. It's the stuff you can't replace. That's really the most heartbreaking part of this, obviously, besides the lives and the homes, and people lost their pets, and, all sorts of things. But just even I'm a sentimental person, man. I have certain things that don't mean shit to anyone else but me. And if they were gone in a fire, it would break my heart. Obviously broke his. And, I mean, again, so many not just athletes and celebrities, just normal-ass people, man. Palisades was one thing, Eaton was another, too. There's a lot of people, we don't know how they're going to rebuild, how they're going to get this money. Of course, insurance is going to be its own thing. And it was just, I don't think people understand how big it was. That's the part I want to explain. So I'm going to use this in sports analogy to try to explain so you can understand just how big the size of the devastation was in these fires, and I'm going to use sports-like analogies. So, Corey, if you can hit this next one here for me. As, again, combined, it's up to 40,000 acres burned down, 62.5 square miles. That is bigger than Washington, D.C., but let's stick, as you see, with the before and after shots here of just the Palisades. So like I said, I'm going to let you know through sports analogies as you look at the Palisades right there of just how massive and devastating these fires were. Again, Palisades and Eaton combined are 40,000 plus acres, 62.5 square miles, bigger than Washington, D.C. But just the Palisades fire itself, as you're seeing the befores and after here, was 31.25 square miles, over 20,000 acres at the time of this article, which means that if you ran a New York City marathon, you would have still had 5 more miles to go before you got through all the devastation. You still have 16% left to go. If you were on the middle of a football field, a lot of people have stood in the middle of a football field before and looked around. That's pretty big, right? You would have to multiply that by 15,000, and you still wouldn't get to the size of everything that has been burned down. Dodger Stadium. Anyone been to Dodger Stadium? You would have to add 350 Dodger Stadiums together, or 57, Dodger Stadiums together, 350 acres, to get an idea of just how big that is. Taylor Swift held her concert in Melbourne Cricket Ground in Australia. That was her biggest concert. 96,000 people were there, and obviously you've had a lot of cricket games. You would need 2,000 of those stadiums to equal the size of the Palisades fire. If you ever played soccer or played ball in Central Park, if you ever been there, you would need 24 Central Parks to equal the devastation of just the Palisades fire, and it's actually about 30% more, already bigger than the entire city of Manhattan. Disney World. Anyone been to Disney World in Orlando with their Forum theme parks? And, of course, has also been host to all sorts of sports stuff. The 22 NBA season, the MLS back tourney. They have a field house, a 9,500-seat stadium, along with track and field complex, along with their parks and everything else. If you combine Palisades and Eaton at over 38,000 acres, or 59.375 square miles, that would be 26% less than what the entire Disney World would look like burned down. So picture Disney World burned to the ground. You would still need to add another 25% to get to the devastation where it's at now, and is still going. It is so massive. It's hard to wrap your head around. It really is. It's hard to understand. So I just wanted to try to give you a picture. If you've ever been in a football field, multiply it by 15,000. If you've ever been in Central Park, multiply that by 24 times. If you ever were at the cricket, grounds in Australia that had 96,000 people, multiply that by 2,000 times. If you were in Disney World and all the theme parks and everything around it was burnt, you would still need a quarter more. It is just, that's effing A, man. That's a lot, man. It all is gone, and we don't know what we're going to do, and it's a big old mess, and L.A. is going to be changed forever. We're still trying to figure things out. We are still kind of in it. So I just wanted to at least, discuss it, because being here in Los Angeles, I had to at least bring it up, knowing people and seeing things that are happening around us. And the only thing I can take into slightly a positive, I guess, silver lining is that at least, and put this picture up here for me, it's a question of, I do wonder how the Olympics will do. Could it possibly really help save a city that's going to need saving in 2028?
I saved the day. Seems like they got a problem with heroes around here or something. I saved the day, Betty.
I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's an interesting dilemma as far as when I think about sports and how it impacts with the Palisades and Eaton fires, that the 2028 Olympics are on the way. And could this either save and rebuild LA, or could it be even more of a money issue and a time constraint issue that they just don't have? Some people are actually calling for them to now move the Olympics away from Los Angeles. I mean, it's more than 3,000 hours of live sports, 800 events, 40 sports. You got to bring in 50,000 athletes plus millions of people to come into the city. It's a lot to get ready for, but part of me also thinks, in a good way, this could actually help celebrate some resilience, kind of rally the city around it a little bit. And there is nothing like a ticking clock for a good deadline to get shit done. I know personally, whether it's this podcast, whether it was school projects, just think about anything you've had in life when you have a clock that's ticking versus like, oh, we'll get to it when we get to it, how much quicker and on the ball you are. I could kind of hope that maybe knowing that, dude, the entire world is going to have your eyeballs on you, literally the entire world, that is a good boot in the ass to maybe, I don't know, clean shit up, maybe help with the homeless situation, maybe get these houses and some of these codes, revoked so people can build quicker. Maybe we'll get things, the transportation. They said they want to make it a carless Olympics. I mean, there's a lot of things that they want to get done, and the best thing to do is to say, hey, man, that clock's ticking, brother. We better get this shit rolling, because if not, we're not going to be able to say, look at LA and look how we've rebuilt and look how we've made things a better situation. The Olympics could really be good or bad, depending on if you want to be glass half empty or half full. Revenue will be interesting as well. Can they actually make money off it? Technically, you can, depending on how much you spend. LA is in a unique situation in that way. Matter of fact, they have already claimed that they want to be the first ones to not have to add more revenue or more venues to the situation here, because they already got Crypto.com, they got the LA Coliseum, of course, SoFi, the Forum, Intuit, they got more stuff there. They have a, quote, no-build mantra. But in the last 3 Olympics, to give you an idea, the Paris Olympics, they brought in $12.2 billion and only spent $8.7. So the French made money there. Tokyo, however, was different. They made $5.8 billion in revenue, but they spent $13. And Beijing, who I guess didn't really care, only made $3.6 and spent $40. 37 was probably on that opening ceremonies, if you remember that whole thing. South Park even did a thing on the whole. That was impressive. But I guess my point being is that if done properly and if done wisely and with the infrastructure already in place, LA could use it as a revenue stream, as a rallying cry, as a sort of, again, ticking clock for our politicians, everybody around here to get on the ball and get all the things that they need to get done. It forces the city to enact. Everybody has to compromise maybe a little more. Maybe they get busy. Or it's going to be too much, too expensive, too much of a time constraint, and a lot of things that we need to get done won't get done, and the Olympics will be a big disaster, a la Brazil back in the day when those poor people were waddling through. That was water, but they were waddling in the rowboats. They literally had trash during some of the events they had to try to get around. It was a whole mess. Brazil is a whole nother situation there. But, I mean, I am curious, and we'll see. We got plenty of time, although not that much in 2028. Could the Olympics be something to rally around, or will it be an issue? Will it save the day? Will it not? We'll find out.
I saved the day. Seems like they got a problem with heroes around here or something. I saved the day, Betty.
In a similar vein, I'm going to move on now to a totally different subject. I want to talk about the NFL playoffs. Corey, hit the picture here for me. Yeah.
Playoffs? We're talking about
we're talking playoffs.
You kidding me?
playoffs?
Oh, we're talking playoffs, baby. We are down to the divisional round, and I'm going to keep it in the LA theme here. But let me start off with the matchups we already know. We're down to, again, the final 8 here. We got Washington taking on Detroit. That's going to be a very interesting matchup with Daniels looking like now the clear rookie favorite and better quarterback so far than Caleb Williams, who was supposed to be the surefire number 1. We'll see how that game goes. 6 fourth-quarter comebacks already for that rookie. He is poised. He is clutch. I love me some Jaden Daniels. Texans have to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Good freaking luck with that. Baltimore-Buffalo is also going to be a very good game, and one I think that is easily the most looked forward to because we expect a lot out of the battles of the MVPs with Josh Allen and, of course, Lamar Jackson there. But I want to talk about, again, keeping this tied to Los Angeles and everything else. Look at the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, I'm never going to stop playing this song. Never going to stop doing it because I enjoy it too much. But Rams last night, Minnesota Vikings were a good team. Minnesota Vikings had a very good offense, and they kicked the shit out of the Minnesota Vikings last night, 27-9, and it wasn't even really that close. They'll face the Eagles in the divisional round, and the playoff game itself was supposed to be walking distance to me at SoFi. Of course, they had to move it because of everything going on, and, I mean, they used it. They not only, like I said, and I'll tell you again, I'll tell you now, and I'll tell you later, I said from Jump Street, if the Rams make the playoffs, watch out because of their injuries. I thought they were a very good team that was heavily underrated. But, I mean, you saw them out last night. They bussed all sorts of fans. They had a bunch of buses. They bussed as many fans as they could out to Arizona for the game there. The players are wearing the shirts for the firefighters and everything else, and their defense shut the Vikings down. Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate Verse recovers the fumble. He runs it back for a touchdown in the second quarter. They had 9 freaking sacks on poor Sam Darnold last night, tying an NFL record. It's their first playoff victory since winning their Super Bowl back in 2021. And again, came, and they talked about it afterwards, from the players are wearing the fire department hats and shirts in honor of the first responders. And they even said afterwards, like, look, this is more than just us now. We're doing this kind of, we're feeling the city. We're feeling the need to inspire some people here. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, the Rams are just a good team on their own. I told y'all this shit before.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
I'm right to the point of boredom. I'm going to start bringing some receipts today. Corey, if you can play this here for me. I said this a month ago, way before the playoffs started. Hit it for me. I am being dead serious. In the NFC, if the LA Rams end up threatening the Detroit Lions and are probably the biggest threat in the NFC now, do not be surprised that anyone told you that. And so underneath the Lions, I got to put the Rams right there. I think the Rams are actually the best threat. I think they're the best threat in the NFC because now with a healthy Matt Stafford, who looks much better, but also Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, the 2 best wide receiving tandem arguably in the league right now. They are 6-2 in their past 8 games. They just got that big win against the Buffalo Bills. That was a phenomenal game, especially, man, Puka was an absolute stud. And in the past 4 weeks, speaking of health, the LA Rams have only had to use 6 offensive linemen in the past 4 weeks. To give you an idea, they have been so depleted, they had to use 11 in the first 10 weeks. They are now 7-6, which doesn't seem that great, but in their division, NFC West, they're doing just fine. They're only 1 game back. They still get to play San Francisco, and they still get to play Seattle, so they control their own fate. They look phenomenal, and they are healthy right at the end of the season at the right time. Go Rams. I really think they're going to be an absolute problem. And as of right now, I'll say more than Philly. If you told me right now the 10-1 Philly or the LA Rams, I'm going with the Rams. They at least seem to get along. Good at what I do.
You're psychic. You can predict the future.
You'll learn I'm good at what I do, but I tried to tell y'all, and man, look at the Rams now, 11-7 after starting 1-4. To give you an idea, only 15 teams ever in NFL history have started 1-4 and made the playoffs. They only had a 5.9% chance of making the playoffs after their 1-4 start. But anybody with eyeballs should have been able to see that, dude, they were unhealthy, but this is a team that had everything that they needed. And now that Matt Stafford was healthy, as you saw last night, 19-27, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, completed 12 passes for 113 yards, and his 2 touchdowns to actually running backs and tight ends. So he started spreading the love a little bit more. This wasn't just the Puka and Kupp show here, or Robinson, who's also become a very good receiver for them, and all their health issues and stuff. Now, because of when Kupp and Puka were sitting down, he's learning now how to utilize more of his weapons. So now they got weapons all over the place, and including Williams and, again, Robinson and Kupp and Puka and everybody everybody else. Their defense now is really, I mean, dude, I cannot express enough. Minnesota was not a bad team. To sack anybody in the playoffs 9 times is not just tying the NFL playoff record, but the 6 times in the first half, the last time that was even seen in a playoff game was 1988. So the Eagles are next, and that's going to be their biggest challenge because I think both Washington and Detroit, as much as I love Detroit and I love Dan Campbell, are vulnerable due to all of their injuries. So I think this is their biggest one as far as making a hurdle to get into the Super Bowl, most likely get their ass kicked by the Chiefs. But I'm still going with this kind of team of destiny thing here, and I'm not even being dramatic or I'm not even being silly. If you can hit the next picture here for me, are the Rams kind of a team of destiny here? I mean, I don't want to get dramatic or goofy, but it is different when you have to play for something more than just yourself. And there's correlation between natural disasters and championships going back throughout history, as you see in the photo here. 2001, 9/11, Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl. 2005, Katrina hits New Orleans. Saints go on to win the Super Bowl. 2012, Hurricane Sandy happens, and then the New York Giants go on and have a huge upset in the Super Bowl. 2017, Hurricane Harvey hits. Astros go and win the World Series. Honorable mentions include 2001 Yankees. They actually made the World Series that year. And the 2017 Vegas Knights, that was a natural disaster, but after that horrible shooting, they went on in their first year to actually make it all the way to the Stanley Cup. There is something about just becoming a symbol of unity, of hope, kind of uplifting a community during tragedy and hardship. When you have more than just yourself to worry about, and I'm trying not to get too corny here, but I'm being dead serious. I could see it already in their faces that they do have at least a little bit of like, hey, man, this is more than just us. And then the universe kind of gets on your side. Next thing you know, you're sacking people 9 times like you weren't supposed to, and you're beating teams just as bad as they could be expected. You got fans being bussed in. You got them going crazy. You got all sorts of stuff going on. It makes me wonder if there's a little bit of that in the air, a la the Patriots 2001, a la the Saints 2005, a la Hurricane Sandy, and the Giants 2012, a la the Hurricane Harvey Astros win in 2017. Are they a team of destiny? I don't know, but I like the thought. I like the sentiment. So go Rams, go kick some ass. I hope you do your thing. And again, who deserves it more than a Philly fan? Oh my God, Philadelphia fans, y'all can keep trying to tell me you're not the worst. You're the worst. And one of the worst things I always hear with Philadelphia fans is like, it's kind of this, oh, well, I'm not the asshole, so therefore I can't admit that the entire fan base are the biggest assholes on the planet. Philly, you got to give it to yourself. We just had another one, the TikTok guy going viral, calling some poor lady a see you next Tuesday at the Packers game and just cussing her out, and finally he got busted for it. But dude, that is par for the course. That dude was very comfortable saying that. So combine that with Philly fans can be some big old jerks. I say go Rams, kick some ass. Team of destiny, baby. Plus, again, Detroit's hurt. So even after they get past Washington, I think there's a very good chance they could beat Detroit. Now, this all might be a moot point, as hit me with the picture here one more time, because in the end, I don't know what to tell anybody. Kansas City Chiefs are going to win. I've said this before. I'll say it again. We're going to win. Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the whole damn thing until I am proven otherwise. It's boring. It sucks. This is something that comes with, certain eras and periods of time. Taylor's going to be celebrating with Travis. You're all going to roll your eyes as Mahomes is once again holding up his 3rd straight Super Bowl trophy. I just don't see anything otherwise other than, again, maybe some universal, Giants upsetting the Patriots kind of level of an upset there. Because, I mean, dude, they're 15-2, but let's keep it a buck. They're 15-1. Mahomes, his last 5 games was 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. Running backs like Hunt has really started to come out and show himself as a positive. Then you added also Worthy, Brown, Kelsey's back to form. DeAndre Hopkins is like a 4th option. They're better than the team that won last year by a long shot. We already know Patrick Mahomes is the toughest quarterback to beat, at least statistically in NFL history. His regular season winning percentage far trumps Brady's now. He is 15-3 in the playoffs. That winning percentage is .833, also number 1. And, I mean, the other AFC teams, yes, every year I keep hearing about it's your turn. It's Baltimore's turn. It's Buffalo's turn. This year we're going to beat the Chiefs. Well, you've never done it, not as long as Mahomes has been there. Matter of fact, Brady and I think Burrow, the only two that ever actually gotten past Patrick Mahomes in his prime. This is a better team with an insane defense, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Their defense is top 10, not just in yards per game allowed, but they are 4th The Kansas City Chiefs defense is 4th in points, allowing only 19.2. So their defense is strong. They've got a bunch of wide receivers they didn't have last year. Their running game's better. Kelsey looks back to form. They're 15-1. They got home field. They've won 2 in a row before. And yes, it sucks. And so many games were close. Oh, there were so many close games. Y'all will find out throughout your lives that winning is not something that you just earn. It's something that you learn. Great franchises learn how to win as much as they earn it. It sucks. We all get tired of dynasties. I remember the Patriots did it forever. We got tired of them, and maybe there's a little bit of a hangover because that one just happened. Brady just won his last Super Bowl a few years ago, but I don't get bet against the Patriots when they had Brady. I don't get bet against the Chiefs now. I didn't bet against the Bulls when they had Jordan. I did bet against the Yankees when they were doing their thing in the early late 90s, 2000s. I didn't bet against the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. I didn't bet against the UConn women's of the 2000s, Alabama football 2009-ish. Do you get what I'm saying? They're kind of in that era. They're probably going to win. It's all kind of a moot point. They've kind of made the most exciting sport in America boring.
We're gonna win. We're gonna win.
Taylor is going to be out there probably singing some goddamn song to Travis. He might propose, and that'll be a whole nother headache of things I won't explain right now that I might have to deal with. But that's probably going to happen, so we probably should let it go. So let me move on to something a little bit more exciting here. This is something now, I'm going to bring receipts for this big time. Finally, though, it's being discussed.
Finally!
Oh, Daddy's excited. If you can put the next picture up here for me, Corey. The Dallas Cowboys might actually finally bring the Sanders Show to Dallas. Yes, I have been screaming this one. I've been screaming this one, and not just for a minute. I've been screaming this for a couple years, and I'll bring that receipt in a second. But like I said, the Cowboys might actually finally go primetime. They did the first step. They have now fired head coach Mike McCarthy, and this is something I want for them, not just because as a sports talk person, it's always great when the Dallas Cowboys have stuff to talk about. This will give us plenty to talk about, but I really do think Deion Sanders is uniquely suited for the Dallas Cowboys, and I will break down why. FYI, Cowboys fans, now he did say, Deion, to get me to leave Colorado, you're going to have to not just draft Shador, you're going to have to draft my sons. He made sure to emphasize the S on sons, meaning that not just Shador, who's probably going to be a top 3 pick, has got to be on the team. He really is also going to want Shiloh, who is at best an undrafted 7th-round free agent, something like that. So there is going to be a caveat. If you want Deion, you're going to have some huevos to make this move, but it looks like it's actually at least getting at least closer to fruition, because latest reports saw this today. Jerry Jones talks to Deion Sanders about the Cowboys coaching job. It is about damn time.
Finally!
Dallas Cowboys in the early stages in search to replace Mike McCarthy. A source said Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones spoke to Sanders on Monday, and while the interview has not been scheduled, the two are expected to continue their dialogue. Deion said, quote, to hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful. It's intriguing. I love Jerry. I believe in Jerry. It is intriguing, but I do love Boulder and everything there. Sanders, of course, just finished his second season in Colorado. They moved up to 9-4. He is now 13-2, or 12, for what's been a dumpster fire recently in Colorado University. Made them winners very quickly. In November, when he was asked, Sanders said he was not interested in the NFL, that he loved Colorado. He also said the same thing about Jackson State before he left Jackson State. And, of course, he has a history with the Dallas Cowboys, the 5 seasons in his Hall of Fame career with the Cowboys, the Super Bowl win in 1996, has always maintained a close relationship with the Jerry Jones family, not to mention Michael Irvin, another one of Jerry's favorites, has been pushing, saying you got to make this move. The Cowboys, again, announced Monday that McCarthy's ass is gone after 5 seasons, who, hey, whatever, 49-35 regular season record, but the fact is you had 1 playoff win in the playoffs over your last 5 seasons. So, I mean, this is something that's been needing to happen, and the timing couldn't be more perfect. As, again, I have been saying this going back to 2023. I got one more receipt to bring up. I'm going to play it one more time. Again, look at the date. 2023, I've been saying. This is 2025 now. I've been telling y'all this is the right idea. Hit it. This guy in Dallas is a hell of an idea. It's a hell of an idea. I'm not going to lie. He gets, the big picture, and that is something you need to handle in Dallas, right? You need to be handling the America's team, big, all eyes on you. I mean, Deion doesn't just handle all eyes on him. He demands all eyes on him. If anyone, unlike a McCarthy or, Garrett or some of the coaches before him that were not able to understand, grasp, or deal with the media attention that Jerry, the star, and everything that comes with it brings you. Deion not only, can handle it, he lives in it. This is his home. Like Bane, talking to Batman like, oh, you like the dark? I was born in it. Deion was born for the spotlight. Deion is making Colorado relevant. Colorado has been hot garbage forever. Deion Sanders has made them the hottest story, the most watched over Texas and Alabama. He made his school in Nebraska be more popular and have more eyeballs on it than Texas and Alabama. If there's anyone that could walk into the Star with new expectations and all the pressure in the world and all the media spotlight and just say, yep, I'm that dude and I'm here to handle it, it is Deion flipping Sanders. Sometimes I got to bring the receipts, man.
Man, I'm tired of being
Y'all are
right.
still getting introduced to me. I'm telling you, I'm right to the point of boredom on a lot of shit. But I've been screaming this one again since 2023, and it makes all the sense in the world. I know there's been more, rational names. Kellen Moore. I've heard Witten out there. I've heard, Flores. I've heard all these, nice guys and probably good coaches. But Dallas is a different situation. It's a circus, and it needs to be handled by someone who knows how to deal with a circus. So if you can hit this next tier thing for me here. Corey, I'm telling y'all, this is not just a good idea because, again, it'd be fun to talk about. Deion, you need to come to Dallas because you are uniquely suited for this situation, which I will explain. Now, again, you're going to have to hire him before the draft, and you're going to have to draft both of his sons, most likely, in order to get this done, Jera. But you have 9 picks this year before the 248th pick, so that takes care of drafting Shiloh. Dude, just use the 7th-round pick. I mean, it's fine. You got 9 others you can actually use properly. And then the Dak Prescott situation, which I know a lot of y'all are going to scream. All you got to do to solve that problem, at least it's worthy of an opportunity or a try, is to trade Dak Prescott along with the number 12 pick this year and see if you can't move up, because the Titans are at 1, the Browns are at 2, and the Giants are at 3. All teams that have pretty good things around them, but all need a quarterback. I think Dak also needs a fresh start, to be honest. He's hurt again, and he's never had a lot of success in Dallas in the playoffs. I think he could use that pressure being taken off his back. Shedeur will obviously be cheaper if you do it that way, and you get rid of Dak's contract eventually. That'll lead to more money for free agency. But the main reasons are, one, Jerry loves taking big risk, and that's where he's the most successful. I heard Cowherd say this the other day, and he makes a great point. I mean, every big swing and every big success has come from Jerry laying his you-know-what's on the table. Buying the team was nuts. Firing Tom Landry and then bringing in Jimmy Johnson was nuts. Trading Herschel Walker for all those picks was nuts, and he did it anyways, and all those were successful. Every time he's played it safe is when he screwed up. And Deion Sanders is uniquely suited for this situation. He's a winner. He loves the spotlight. He can actually fight Jerry Jones. He knows Jerry. He's got enough swag and ability to deal with Jerry and tell him to stick it when someone needs to tell him to stick it, something that, McCarthy and some of the others, Garrett before him, did not have. He speaks both player and coach. He's one of the unique guys in that situation, and just knows how to bring in a culture, bring in an attitude, make it fun. Dallas Cowboys have a lot of pressure. It is good to bring in a coach that can just let you have some damn fun and play football. Nobody knows this better than primetime frickin' Deion Sanders. So you bring in the quarterback, you bring in his son, you trade Dak away with the number 12 pick and try to trade up to get him. You go ahead and draft Shiloh in the 7th round. Who gives a shit? You got 9 picks that actually matter before that. And then you work everything together, and the next thing you know, you're at least exciting again, you're fun again. What I do know is if you keep with Dak in the NFC, good effing luck, because Detroit is still not going anywhere. Philly's not going anywhere. There's a lot of teams in the NFC that, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, are going to have a way better chance for the next few years than the Dak Prescott-led Dallas Cowboys. We've seen that movie. It's time for a new one. It's time for a sequel. Bring in Deion. Let's get it done. I want to see Deion Sanders finally on the Cowboys. Especially because I've been saying it again for 2 damn years. I feel very nice in my own little happy place when I get that one right. All right, moving on, literally moving on, and I want to talk about someone I need to move on for him. I'm going to move on to basketball now, if you don't mind. I want to talk about my man Andrew Wiggins. Hit it for me here, Corey. As a Golden State Warriors fan, this is going to get a little sad and unfortunate because I have nothing against Andrew Wiggins, the person, but it is time. It is time to say goodbye to Andrew Wiggins, and I'm using, ironically, for personal reasons. You're a nice guy. I don't think you should be punished for prioritizing life outside of basketball, but Steph Curry and the crew don't need it anymore. Your ass has got to go. So what am I talking about? Okay, so the Warriors have been on an unfortunate slide that is almost historic. They went from first place just a month and a half ago. They were 12-3. They are now in 12th place. They are 19-20 in just a month and a half. They're 5-11 in their last 16. They are 7-18 in their last 25. They are now in the bottom half in scoring. The Golden State Warriors are in the bottom half in scoring. They're 15th in threes at 36%. They're 23rd in field goal percentage at 44.7. They have had injuries all over the place. Kuminga, Moody, Payton, Pods, Melton have all, Melton's of course gone and now been traded for Schroeder. He struggled to start off so far. He's starting to pick it up just a little bit. Steph and Dre have had to miss back-to-backs because they're too damn old now. And Wiggins, once again, just recently, he just came back last night, but the last couple games missed them because of, quote, personal reasons. And dude, this is a hard kind of topic for me to navigate, but I don't know what else to say about it other than this is not about judgment. This is about looking at the team and looking at the situation, and you can be a nice guy, and a lot of people will probably praise you for not taking basketball so serious, and you've been through a lot, and I want to reiterate, I understand, and I'm trying to be sensitive to the fact that Andrew Wiggins has been through a lot of different things, but he has missed 56 games in the past 2 seasons, and that was, of course, caring for his ailing father, who is now unfortunately passed, and that was just over the summer, and we weren't really explained that during the time, but now it's been come to light that those 56 games missed for personal reasons were because his dad was sick, and he wanted to take care of him, and then his dad unfortunately passed. So, I mean, hey, I don't know that situation. I want to be sensitive to that, but the last 2 games now he missed for the birth of his child, which is now his 3rd child, and so a lot of this, a lot of people are going to say, Brent, what's your problem? The dude had a sick dad. The dude had a kid being born. It's just a basketball game. What the hell is your problem? Well, I don't know. I mean, look, I don't want to go old school with this. I don't want to be like, look, I don't want to get to that kind of part of me, that Cro-Magnon part that kicks in that want to say, hey, Jordan, had his dad get murdered, and he still did his thing in professional sports. He didn't miss games. Joe Dumars found out that his dad died the right after Game 2 of the NBA Finals. He, continued to play. Brett Favre, Dale Earnhardt. I mean, there's story after story of it, and I don't know if that's the right answer, so I'm going to probably push back off of that. And the only part of me that is a little bit like just wants to scream it is like, dude, I'll bet the guaranteed money helps. When it comes to taking 58 games off for personal reasons, I'll bet those 58 games times 320,000, $18.5 million to not play, because that's the way NBA contracts are figured out, is probably helpful when like, hey, not feeling it, man. I got tragedy. I got things I'm dealing with. I don't want to go play today. I'm still going to get my $320,000 paid to me whether I play or not. He is by far not the first one to say, hey, you know what? I got things I got to take care of. But this isn't a personal attack. This isn't about me trying to judge or blame or say that I'm better or smarter or that my way is right, and I could be completely wrong, and I am conceding all of that. What I am saying is that the Warriors went from 12-3 and have lost 7 of 18 in their last 25. I'm saying that Steph Curry is 37 years old. I'm saying Draymond is also very old. I'm saying that they're injured. I'm saying that they're struggling. And this is kind of a family, too, that as much as if that's your priorities, and if that's your priorities, I'm not going to tell you no. But as somebody who watches the team and just sees what they don't need an inconsistent kind of situation. And whether it's right or wrong or rude or just whatever, it is kind of at that moment of either, you've kind of ran out of personal days and you're going to have to find a way to take care of outside situations and continue to play basketball, or you can, hey, a lot of people praise you for it and say you're doing the right thing. Go play somewhere else. There's a lot of places you could be used, but they need help. They need help. They don't need somebody, and Andrew Wiggins is a super good guy. I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about him. He has always been kind of aloof, has never really seemed to, it's just basketball's not his number one priority. And look, he's not the first one. Nikola Jokic clearly doesn't give a shit. There's plenty of stars out there who have always said, hey, look, there are bigger things in life than just sports. Look at the ones who took it way too serious, the Michaels and Kobes and some of the others. They had a hard time getting along with other people. And, obviously Kobe had the tragedy, but Jordan to this day still struggles to make friends. They prioritized it too much. Andrew's doing the right thing, and he's actually taking family first and taking care of all that first. And so granted, do it. I guess in the long run, and kind of in a long-winded, long story long here, even though it's right, it's not right for the Warriors, if that makes sense. They're at a point now they can't have. There is no Klay Thompson anymore. Kuminga's been too inconsistent. They don't have the ability to kind of, deal with Andrew's situations and swings. And not to mention, he almost missed the entire title year. Golden State doesn't win the title in 2021 when he said, I don't want to take the vaccine, which, hey, again, looks like he might have been right on that. But, I mean, this is a guy who's continually shown, dude, I like basketball and I like everything that comes with it, but it's not where some of the other ones put it at. And we're at a situation with him where it's going to have to be, an amicable trade, something that gets done, or he, hopefully can stay focused because he's such a good player when he's on the floor and he's so valuable. But me personally, you got to go with past and history and kind of an inconsistent attitude and behavior, not just family stuff, but just in general. He comes on the court sometimes aloof and doesn't really seem like he's into it. I would say, trades for possibles like Levine, Ingram, Cam Johnson, Kuzma, even though I like Wiggins better than almost all of them, I don't see some of the other stuff that comes with it, especially a guy like Cam Johnson. That would be a beautiful trade. Go get some height. Miles Turner would be beautiful. Vucevic, Valanciunas. I really, I trying to be sensitive here, and I'm trying to, reiterate. I don't know if I'm right about everything that I'm saying that might aggravate me, but what I do know is that just without looking at this anything but rationally, the Warriors can't wait or keep giving excused paid absences, right or wrong. So, Andrew, hey, I hear you're a great guy and God bless, but I'm at a point now. This team is just sliding, and they got to have somebody figure it out. Personal reasons aside or not. It's always a tough subject. But let me move on to something a little bit more fun here. NBA, I'm going to stay in the NBA. Cleveland Cavaliers. I freaking told you. And once again, I'm not going to bring my old receipt, but I'm going to bring new facts to it. Corey, if you can hit the next video here for me. Cleveland Cavaliers, quit sleeping on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland Cavaliers are the best team in basketball, period, end of freaking story. I said this in November. I'll say it again now. They are 33-5 now. The Cleveland Cavaliers, number one in the entire NBA. They just broke their 12-game win streak the other day. They are 9-1 in their last 10. And people are saying, oh, they played an easy schedule. According to the Power Index, I guess they played an easy schedule. I know they beat OKC. I know they beat Boston. I know they beat Denver twice. I know they beat the Bucks, 33-5. And as of January 8th, their plus-minus was 11.5. That's the third highest in the past decade. They are 20-2 at home. 20-2. Boston's only 14-7. Second in points per game, 122.1. Number one in league field goal percentage, 50.2%. Don't look at the logo. Look at what they're doing. These guys can score. Matter of fact, they got 6 players that average 10 points per game or more. Mitchell averages 23. Garland averages 21. Mobley averages 19. Allen, LeVert, Jerome, all having great years. They average above 10 points per game. The teams that are like them, that have been 30-5 or better, and again, they're 33-5. The last 4 or 5 made the NBA Finals. 3 of those won. 54.5% of those teams in history made at least the NBA Finals. 59%, and then 82% went on to win the title in the next 2 years if they didn't win it that year. Atkinson has to be at least the number one candidate with a bullet for Coach of the Year. Nobody saw Cleveland doing this on a long-term basis. They are freaking doing it. Donovan Mitchell will not get MVP. He should be in the talks, in the conversation, because, again, they are kicking everybody's ass. I don't give a crap what your schedule thing says, Power Index, none of that nonsense. They beat OKC, they beat Boston, they beat Denver, they beat the Bucks. They're 33-5, and when 54.5% of those teams that have a record like that go on to win the finals, 59% make it, and then 82% win the title in the next 2 years, you cannot tell me with a straight face that is not the best damn team in basketball. And it's Cleveland. I know it's Cleveland, but it's a small market. No one we really care about. They are freaking good. Cleveland Cavaliers are without a doubt my favorite right now to come out of the Eastern Conference, whether Boston and their fan base likes it or not. And another quick NBA note, I want to get to 2 more basketball notes. I'm wondering how I'm doing on time, so I'm going to try my best to get through this as good as I can. It's Wemby's world. I got to talk about the Frenchie here, man. It is Wemby's world, and we are just living it. Victor Wembanyama has become a goddamn monster on the court. And again, small market like Cleveland being the best team in basketball, even though Wemby had some hype coming in. He's been in San Antonio, and they're doing better than you think. They're actually 500 right now. Victor, though, has already started to figure it out on a different level. And this is the star that the NBA is going to have to hitch their wagon to. You're gonna have to do it on Victor Wembanyama. He's the only one that's young and interesting that I think has a real chance to take the reins from both Curry and LeBron. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, the NBA's issue has not been too many three-pointers or all the other, they're too woke, or whatever other bullshit you came up with, because Christmas Day, I was on a break. I wasn't able to talk about this. Christmas Day actually proved my point, because, again, I'm right to the point of boredom, but the Christmas Day ratings were actually the highest they had been in 5 years, and Steph Curry versus LeBron James that day was at 7.76 million viewers. That is the most watched regular season game in the last 5 years, and I thought everyone was telling me all these other problems. All I know is you give us a good audience, you put Steph and LeBron in a close game, suddenly the ratings are right back to where they were. You have needed stars, you've needed stories. You do not need to change anything else about the NBA other than casuals need a star they know and a storyline they can get down with.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
I've screamed this one for a while, and Victor Wembanyama is the closest we have to that next one, because you look at the rest of the list of the young guys, there's something missing. Anthony Edwards is getting closer, but he still has immaturity issues and has just been, the most fined, I think, in the NBA this year. So he's still got a couple years to go before I think he gets there. Ja and LaMelo are both out. They're too busy playing wannabe Papa Docs, and that's just the NBA can't ride behind that. SGA is good, but he's boring. So is Jason Tatum, is just extremely boring, except when he's Shang-Sunning, personalities from other people in their quotes, which is just weird. Giannis, we tried Giannis. He ain't really it. Jokic is still probably the best player in the league, but he will flat tell you, I do not give shit about the NBA. I want to go home to my horses and be around them and do my thing and drink my beer and eat my pizza. I don't give them about, you can't ride behind a guy who tells you, I don't really care about the league that much. I care about more my country. So Victor Wembanyama, almost by just process of elimination, but also with his play, this kid is something else, man. It is Wemby's world, and the rest of us are just living in it. He is starting to go freaking insane. Corey, hit the video here for me. Victor Wembanyama is losing his damn mind, and this is the alien that we were promised, and he's already starting to show up. 7'4", 235 pounds now. He's added that weight to him. He's only 21 years old, and he's already averaging 25.1 points, 10.8 rebounds, 4 blocks a game, and 35% from threes on 9 attempts per game. He is shooting 9 attempts per game. That's Steph Curry level, and he's still one of the top shooters on his team. He is 7'4", 8-foot wingspan. It is hard to explain how big this dude is unless you put him against other NBA players, but you can see through the highlights. This is a reason we call him the freaking alien. This guy is an alien. You're not supposed to have the handle, coordination, and everything else at that height, and now that added weight and skill set. It's just not supposed to be fair, and it really hasn't been fair. He has really been on a tear. I mean, he had 50 points already game this year, where he shot 8 of 16 from threes, by the way, which is insane. That was against Washington. He's already scored 42 twice last month in December. A win against Jokic, the other so-called best big in the NBA. He had 35 and 18 and kicked Jokic's ass, got some big defensive stops as well. Like I said, Spurs are 19-19 while we're all sleeping on him. He was the second rookie ever, because of his height and athleticism, to lead the league in blocks. That was last year, tying Manute Bol. What you didn't know was that with those 250 blocks, he also had 125 threes, first ever to do that. He's the first NBA player in history to get 300 points, 100 rebounds, 50 assists, 50 blocks, and 40 threes in a month. He's the first NBA player ever to have 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 200 threes in the first 100 games. And he is at least staying somewhat healthy. Last year he played 71. This year he's played 33 of 48. And again, the range, man. This is, ever since Popovich, had his health issues, and I'm glad to hear he's doing okay, it seems like some of the reins have been loosened. 9 threes a game for a 7'4" guy is just crazy, but then when you watch what he's able to do, that's a smooth stroke now. Pause. I don't know what to tell you. That is a smooth stroke right there that he's got, along with his game, along with his defense, along with his willingness to learn and his humbleness. I mean, that's from the damn logo. That's Steph Curry range. He is 7'4", 8-foot wingspan. It's Wemby's world. He is just getting started at 21 years old. This kid is the next big thing, NBA. You really have to hitch your wagon to him, because nobody else is really seeming to take that mantra. Steph and LeBron got a year or two left, man. It's going to be Wemby's land, and we're all going to be living in it. So wanted to throw that shout out to Wemby and the San Antonio Spurs, surprising people. And last one here, and I got to call it a day. Hit this last picture for me, Corey. I'm going to move on to ladies basketball for a second. I got to ask the question, Paige and Juju, how's that shadow treating you? I'm not trying to be a jerk. Don't get mad at me here. I waited and I gave it some time. I gave it some time here, and I tried to see, like, hey, is it the same level of excitement and expectation with Paige and Juju? Nope. Got to ask, how's the shadow? I also got to ask, are y'all okay? Because unfortunately, with all this new attention, there is, other situations going on. Some damn lunatic, actually from Texas, some middle-aged man from Texas, just was in court yesterday stalking poor Catlin Clark. And no, it wasn't me. I have people vouching for me. I'm all right. It wasn't my crazy ass.
Did I find you?
And I don't mean to make light of it because the dude is actually out of his goddamn mind. Michael Lewis has just been arrested yesterday on a felony charge for those of y'all that missed it. He was in court yesterday for stalking Catlin Clark and was just acting like a crazy person in the courtroom, kept interrupting the judge. He is looking up to 6 years in prison, $10,000 fine. He is a resident of Denton, Texas, but he actually drove to Indianapolis just to stalk poor Catlin Clark. He was all over her social media, and some of the messages have been released. Some of them haven't. The ones we can read include things like, quote, I'm getting tickets, I'm sitting behind the bench. The next one says, they said I was sending threatening text, but the only thing on my mind was Catlin. Others contained sexually explicit material, so those have been kind of redacted or hidden. And I mean, he's going to jail. It's a whole thing. It's sad. Poor Catlin. They said she felt terrorized, frightened, intimidated, or threatened by all this stuff. And it's just not okay. It's not cool. I hope he, rots under a prison for a while, and is actually connected to just a month ago because Paige Beckers, who I'm going to lean into here as well, just had this happen a month ago. She just also had a 40-year-old man, this one was from Oregon, stalking her. He was given a 1-year suspended sentence and 3 years probation. So, unfortunately with fame brings out some of the crazies, and I just hope they stay safe and stay protected because they're so important to the women's movement that we're starting to see in basketball. But that being said, as far as normal attention goes, I have to throw this in here, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I am going to ask the question, how's that shadow? And I waited. I was quiet. I wanted to see what happened. So the numbers, at least statistically for Paige and Juju, who are supposed to be next after Catlin and Angel, have been good. They've been good. Juju this year has averaged 25.5, 6.6, and 3.9. USC is 16-1. I think they're 7th in the country. Paige Beckers, who was also supposed to be the next one coming, is supposed to be the next pick, number 1 next year. 19.9, 4.3, and 4.0 in rebounds and assists there, which is all fantastic numbers. They're not where Catlin was at her sophomore year. Catlin at 27, 8, and 8 as a sophomore. Don't try to say that's senior numbers. As a sophomore, beats them both in every statistical category. I'm going to throw that in there for you. Angel Reese, meanwhile, also averaged 14.4 rebounds in her 2 years at LSU. So even statistically, they're not keeping up with the two ladies that everybody fell in love with from last year and followed and created the movement. But the TV ratings aren't the same. They're good. They're not bad, but they're not the same. They actually played each other. Christmas Eve, Paige and Juju played each other. This was supposed to be the next big head-to-head matchup, and it was on Christmas Eve with a lot of people having time off and being able to go ahead and check it out. And it did fine. It did $2.23 million, which is decent. I'm not arguing. It's one of the highest-rated watch games in women's basketball in a while. It's still not touching Catlin's 3.3 from last year when she only played Ohio State and she was by herself. It's definitely not touching Catlin versus Angel in the tournament at 12.3 million viewers. Now, you can argue that's the tournament, but they also got higher ratings than that 2.2 in the WNBA, which doesn't have the backing that college basketball does. I am telling you, the WNBA and NCAA are going to probably continue to be a little bit of a cautionary tale going forward of the idea that you can, quote, pick your lightning. The idea that you can pick the lightning in the bottle that you wanted to go with, because I think most people realize that both Paige and Juju have been more accepted from the beginning. They have been pushed from the beginning. Angel kind of came out of nowhere after a 2-year transfer, and then Catlin definitely, started, but then she was a juggernaut. And to put those two together, they were a whole different rise of stardom that I don't think people either wanted to give credit for on either side for whatever reason. But, man, that was something that, again, Michael Jordan in baseball, Tiger Woods golf, it was a small amount of situations you can compare it to of like, dude, this is a freaking juggernaut, get on this train. Now they want us to get on the Paige and Juju train, and they're very good players. They're not the same. They're not as good. They don't have the same je ne sais quoi, and we're not watching as much. And that doesn't surprise me at all. Doesn't surprise me at all. This is, again, kind of in the same vein of, musicians. A lot of times they hate their number one hit. Most musicians will tell you the one that you love, they're like, dude, that's like my 20th favorite song. WWE, I'm a big fan of the wrestling. They'll flat out tell you, dude, why do y'all pick this wrestler? Why do you cheer for that one? And they'll still send them out there and let them be champion because they realize, dude, in the end, we do the talking. The UFC will set up fight after fight after fight based off what people want. The WNBA has learned their lesson maybe a year too late. I don't know if y'all have caught this yet. Just so y'all know, the Fever and Sky, Catlin and Angel's teams, are going to play each other a record 5 times next year. They only play like 35-something games. They don't even play, or 40 games. If 5 of those games, they now put, let's put Sky and Fever. Those girls equal ratings. So I hope, you can still gather some of that because some of the momentum has been lost, unfortunately. And due to kind of the time constraints and our short attention spans, I think it's going to continue to happen. But, I got to throw it in there. Paige and Juju, I'm rooting for you. And all the fans of them that were trying to say, wait till they show up because Catlin and Angel have never seen anything like these two. And no. They're not catching up statistically. They're not catching up for views. And they're now currently, like I said, they're kind of, a little bit in the shadow. Still got a long time. They still got some time to figure things out. Let's see if they're able to pick up their momentum. So far, though, I got to give the points to Catlin and Angel. And now I got to go. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe. Be good out there, and I'll talk to you next time.